we made a post the other day, just, be the peacemaker at Thanksgiving. Letting yourself fall into one of the teams is just destined for failure. So I typically am trying not even to. I don't know. It's sad because you want to participate in the debate and you want to say what you feel, but then that's why I feel like steel manning is such an important tool. Is like, even if you're arguing a position, in that debate, when you steelman someone else's argument, the person that you're debating, it has the effect of not only strengthening your argument because you're finding the best versions of their argument, but they actually respect you because you're playing fair, and you're not only are you playing fair, you're going out of your way to give them a good faith characterization. And, I'm really interested in kind of building these types of ideas into the UX of Minds, because I just think people experience social media sometimes and they see stuff and they see things they disagree with, and they're just so used to reacting and getting triggered and dunking on somebody else. And fine, that's funny sometimes and it's necessary, but if you could just as easily reframe the whole experience and say, hey, actually the point of being here is to find stuff that you disagree with and engage it in a productive way. And so, when one moment somebody was seeing a piece of content that triggered them and thought that they were getting emotionally abused, the next moment, because they've reframed their experience, they're actually thinking about the human being on the other side of the keyboard. And, they're curious why that person thinks this awful thing. And they're not allowing it to affect their own state of being. And that's just like a useful tool, even offline, to not let. I mean, what is that? That's like one of the 4 agreements, which is, just don't take things personally. And it really is just, it's hard. And I don't think any of us are fully capable of doing it. But, bringing that to the internet, I think we have to do it because things are getting so insane and everybody's just so trigger happy every day.
Yeah, I think that's an amazingly pertinent question. Like anytime you're confronted with something you don't understand or a viewpoint that seems absurd, why does this person think X? I think that's a really exciting question. I'm wondering, it sounds also like steel manning might be part of the change program with Daryl Davis's strategy of talking to the KKK members and listening to them. Is that kind of like a micro strategy? Does that tie in?
I think so. Yeah. I think that, whether or not Daryl is aware of the term, I think that that's sort of naturally what he has found works just on a human to human level.
Yeah,
When you hear somebody out, the best listener in the room is like usually one of the most liked persons in the room. So,
yeah,
I don't know if he would like how deep he was going and like understanding all of the details of white nationalism, and like trying to act interested in it,
sure.
or specifically make good versions of their argument. But I think that he for sure like tried to see where they were coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of baked into what we're doing as well with Idea Market. Just the fact that so many people feel unheard and unlistened to. I'm testing the hypothesis that having the ability to make money by listening to things that might seem outrageous can change the incentives of that. Make it less about, am I a conspiracy theorist or not, and more about, is there value here or not? And I'm really looking forward to seeing to what extent listening can be sort of institutionalized or given infrastructure so that it's not something that could be taken away by media corporations and the social atmosphere at large. Does that make sense?
That'll really change the game if more people can start finding value in the things that they disagree with, even approaching it from like an academic place. Because like whatever conspiracy theory it is, I mean, obviously there's some conspiracy theories which are completely insane, but they're coming from a certain place. And with any contentious issue, you have data on both sides. And hopefully this is something that we can work on together, is, identifying and visualizing for users the sentiment on both sides, so that if you're looking at a post about XYZ conspiracy theory or political issue or whatever it is, that it's not the network just telling you this is true or false. It's you have a probability score on both sides, and there can be like different references on both sides, which are contributing to why people think something on both sides. But like when I'm scrolling through my newsfeed and I see something that, like I think CIA killed JFK was like trending yesterday. And because I think there was, for some reason, some files didn't get declassified. So everybody's talking about that. You just want to see a little kind of visualization of what's happening. And, if you're being told something is true or false, then that's just not helping me learn. I don't know why you're telling me that. I want to see why, and I want to see the arguments on both sides. If you're not showing the arguments on both sides, then you're hiding information from people to make decisions for themselves. You shouldn't, if the evidence is so overwhelming in favor of something being false, then when you did have that visualization, it would be like, 98% of people think this way and for all of these reasons. And it's pretty much as good as a false, but it's different because it's not actually, there's still that 2%. And that 2%, the fringe is, there may be cases which would be very rare, but where the fringe is right. And where, because, typically in social evolution and technological evolution, the fringe is they're the ones coming up with the crazy ideas, which are, were completely impossible. So we know from like time after time historically that you have to look at the fringe. And yes, the fringe is like 99% nonsense, but it's 1% literally the most revolutionary ideas that exist. So you can't, and this is the damage that the censorship is causing too, because when granted, yeah, you might be getting rid of like a lot of toxic stuff, but you're also getting rid of there's collateral damage in there, which, you might be losing access to some of the best ideas that humanity has ever known. So that's really scary. And so unfortunately, we kind of just have to grow up a little bit and be able to deal with some more of the toxic stuff in order to be able to get access to those little, nuggets.